also have to build a network. So should Brennan House go, 6 feet under or becomes disabled or something, the network keeps going. And we have built up a team of broadcasters that keep the truth being pumped out. So there is a reason we do it the way we do it, folks. Okay? But notice all the networks that she's naming. And Worldview Tube is one of the only ones standing here telling you the truth about MEK and so many other issues. It's not that we're always right, but it's that we're grounded in a biblical worldview that, when applied, is always right. These other groups couldn't find their backside in the dark, okay? They don't know the Bible. They twist it. They take it out of context at best. And some of these groups, I think, are CIA front. That's my opinion. So you better spread the word about Worldview Tube, and be blunt, you better get online right now and support us at worldviewfoundation.com, okay? And if you are, thank you. If you're not, why not? worldviewfoundation.com. Take care.
You are watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brennan House.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan, and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
President Trump has expedited production of a key ingredient in the weed killer Roundup, a divisive move that has some on the right upset.
It's an issue that's been debated in the Tennessee legislature as well. Here's News 2's Kelly Milan.
Glyphosate, the key ingredient in Roundup, is one of the most widely used weed killers in the country. On Tuesday, Bayer agreed to a proposed $7.25 billion settlement to resolve thousands of lawsuits from people who say the product caused their cancer. Bayer denies claims and says it is safe when used as directed. On Wednesday, President Trump signed an executive order invoking the Defense Production Act, prioritizing domestic glyphosate production and calling it critical to national security. Some farmers in Tennessee agree, saying there is no easy substitute.
It's not something that can just be replaced. Yes, there are chemistries that you can run in place of glyphosate at times of need, maybe in niche markets, but dollar for dollar, there is nothing on the market that can replace one-for-one glyphosate in row crop production.
The debate is now spilling into the Make America Healthy Again, or MAHA movement. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has long criticized exposure risks, recently emphasized the harm in the weed killer on a podcast.
Bobby Kennedy is right about glyphosate and its safety. It's dangerous. It's a carcinogen. And that's what led to this $7.25 billion settlement we just filed.
So a rift is clear politically, but for the many cancer victims claiming to be victims of Roundup, it's about looking for justice.
Rather than get caught up in this battle over the safety of glyphosate, we have a settlement that's going to be available for 21 years. It's going to take care of people who have developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma now, or who may develop it in the future as a result of using Roundup. So I think that folks ought to take a really serious look at that. The political wins, they're too tough to judge.
Here in Tennessee, lawmakers were considering legislation to limit people's ability to sue if they got sick from a pesticide. It passed the Senate, but after opposition poured in, the House sponsor canceled a committee vote on the bill just minutes before it was supposed to start. It's unclear if it'll come back up for a vote this year. Bob and Haley.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're coming to you live from Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast on this Whistleblower Wednesday, and we're in search of the truth about glyphosates, as you just heard. Well, President Trump's February 18th, 2026 executive order invoking the Defense Production Act to ensure adequate domestic supply of elemental phosphorus and glyphosate-based herbicides has sparked widespread confusion and concern in both the Make America Healthy Again and broader MAGA communities. Maha and MAGA are not happy. The move aimed at bolstering agricultural productivity, food security, and national defense by reducing reliance on foreign sources intensified when Robert F. Kennedy Jr., along a vocal critic of glyphosate and its potential health risks, publicly supported the policy as a necessary step to protect American farmers and independence on adversarial nations, despite his past efforts linking the herbicide to cancer concerns. Many who have closely followed glyphosate's debated role in public health are now seeking clarity. What does the science indicate? What are the medical implications? And what does the shift mean for health moving forward? Well, today we're joined by one of the world's leading voices in integrative oncology, Dr. Francisco Contreras, medical director of Oasis of Hope Hospital and a physician with over 40 years of clinical experience. Dr. Contreras has treated patients from more than 55 countries and is internationally recognized for pioneering metabolic and nutritional strategies in cancer care. He is the author of The Hope of Living Cancer-Free, The Coming Cancer Cure, and 8 other books on nutrition, metabolism, and patient-centered oncology. You can learn more about his work at oasisofhope.com. We're bringing Dr. Contreras into this discussion amid this significant national debate. He's going to help us examine the potential medical and health concerns surrounding glyphosate and provide a much-needed perspective during this time of uncertainty. Dr. Contreras, welcome to the Rob Maness Show, sir.
Thank you very much. It's an honor, Colonel. It is very controversial because it is well known that these pesticides that are estrogen-like substances increase the possibility of the development of malignancies. There are studies that show that, for instance, people that work in golf courses have a higher incidence of lymphomas than the rest of the population. And it's always difficult to balance between the risks and the benefits and what is worse, one or the other. But to put things in perspective, I do believe that these type of chemicals, if we could avoid them, it would be much better. But it is just about impossible to stay away from all of the estrogen-like substances in the world. All plastics have them. Estrogen, for instance, is a well-known carcinogen, and women produce it in their bodies, in their ovaries. Sometimes it's just difficult to put that balance. So in a perfect world, if we could have no contact with any of these chemicals, it would be very good. I don't know the political implications of this, and if it's really of national security, because then the production of food would be so bad and so low that more people would die of hunger than the ones that develop cancer. That is something that I wouldn't be able to comment on. But what I can definitely comment is that there is no question that glyphosate is a carcinogen. It is not one of the main carcinogens. There are harsher ones that tobacco, for instance, and is a lot worse. And yes, you put claims on all of the cigarette boxes, but still people continue to smoke. And a hormone replacement therapy, for instance, I think it's worse than glyphosate as far as increasing the risk of cancer in women and men, as far as breast cancer and prostate cancer is concerned. So I can understand where the controversy is, and I don't know if there are any studies showing the risk benefit and how high is the risk in comparison to the benefit. And I think right from the political point of view, they probably calculated that the risk is less than the benefit.
Yeah,
But
yeah. The one of the things that's really curious. Look, I have to admit, I have a family member who's 80, pushing 80. He's a farmer since he was 14 years old, and he's used Roundup. He has Parkinson's disease, he has cancer, and he has kidney failure. And I asked him when he started. He was around when they started using Roundup, and the sales guys were coming around, you know. And I asked him. I
yes.
said, hey, you know, what did they tell you about Roundup when they came to sell it to you? And he said, Rob, that guy told me I could take a shower in that stuff every single day, and it wasn't going to hurt me. And now look at me.
Oh
And he's
my God.
convinced. He's convinced that the glyphosates in the herbicides, in this case herbicide Roundup, are part of the issue.
And I agree. I think I mean it's well established
Mm,
that it is a carcinogen. Again, what is the percentage of people? As I tell you, it's an old study where they showed that golf course uh, caretakers have a higher incidence of lymphoma than the rest of the population.
mhm,
But it was, as far as I remember, not significantly statistically significant. What does that mean? It means that even though the more people that work on golf courses have lymphomas than the rest of the population, it could still be happen by chance. And give me a break.
mhm,
It, that's not true. So um, again, if you put in the big picture and no food is produced, well, then more
mhm.
people are going to die because there's no food
Right.
in comparison to people that are going to develop cancer. And I think that's where the issues are that politicians have to make decisions. Uh, but in a perfect world, I think that Bobby was correct when he sued all of these companies,
Mhm.
telling them that this is not good. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, you know what?
What the
One of the
impact
other
of not having it? I don't know.
One of the other interesting things is that last year, I'm pretty active politically at the state level. Bayer, the company that bought Monsanto, that owns Roundup, they went around to try to get state legislatures to pass legislation to give them total immunity as long as the product was applied as it said on the label. And we defeated those bills, but then they tried to get it put into the National Defense Authorization Act. They're going to great lengths to get this immunity. If it's not dangerous, why would they be worried about it?
Exactly. Man, remember all of the fiasco with the COVID vaccines?
Hmm.
They push them as vaccines because then you can't sue. But
Hmm.
they're drugs. They're not vaccines in by definition. So yeah, politicians. I don't know. It's harsh, and I'm from Mexico, but I support a lot of what this new administration is doing because I think it's going to be very beneficial, and
Hmm.
it is most unfortunate that they're going to that they have to make decisions like this, but there's no way around it. This is a product that can increase the risk of cancer for people that are exposed to it.
Yeah. Is the United States unique to this, Doc? I mean,
No,
you treat people from all over the world. Is this product used worldwide?
no. In fact, in the United States, they have a lot more regulation than our countries,
Hmm.
especially in the agricultural realm. And there's no question that our people are a lot more exposed when they say used correctly. That may be true. And so when used correctly, maybe your production is going to be 10% less.
Yeah.
And so they don't use it correctly because money is important, and maybe they don't come up, their numbers are going to be in the red because they have to use it correctly. As I tell you, I'm just giving you perspectives. We use in the treatment of cancer as oncologists, cancer-causing agents, radiation, for instance. Right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
when you put the risk benefit, well, the benefit is better than the risk. Chemotherapy, most of the chemotherapeutic agents that we use are carcinogenic. And so it's it's a catch-22
It
thing.
is. It is.
But I'm just trying to give you a perspective
Yeah.
that sometimes we just judge too harshly um, decisions that people
Mhm.
that have to decide for the masses,
Right.
in
Yeah, it's a
comparison
big
to
difference.
me
Big difference.
deciding for one patient at a time.
Yeah, big difference when trying to make a risk decision and weighing all these factors that most people aren't thinking about when they hear about the news. We got to take a break, Dr. Contreras. When we come back, we'll see a clip from a guy that says you can drink this stuff. Believe it or not, we'll be right back with Dr. Contreras.
But with Brandon, it's always cutting edge stuff happening in the world, and it's not just from the political angle, because you can get that on other platforms, but it's always from the biblical angle. So you're dealing with a guy that loves Jesus. You're dealing with a guy that's very intelligent. You're dealing with a guy that is cutting edge conservatism, and you're dealing with a guy that wants to be biblical all at the same time. And so for that reason alone, I hope many, many people will not just lift up his ministry in prayer, but will also financially get behind it, because from the angle I'm trying to describe, he really is the only game in town. And we desperately need it in these last days. Can I get an amen to that?
Do not believe that glyphosate in Argentina is causing increases in cancer. You can drink a whole quart of it and it won't hurt you.
You want to drink some? We have some here.
I'd be happy to, actually, but not really. But
not really.
I know it wouldn't hurt me.
If you say so, I have some glyphosate.
No, I'm not stupid.
Ah, okay. So you.
No, but I know
so it's dangerous, right?
No, people try to commit suicide with it and fail fairly regularly.
Tell the truth.
It's not dangerous to humans. No, it's not.
So you're ready to drink one glass of glyphosate?
No, I'm not an idiot. Interview me about golden rice. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, then it's finished. Then the interview is finished.
That's a good way to solve things.
Yeah. You're a complete jerk.
So when an interview ends with you calling the interviewer a jerk, you might want to think, could I have prepared better for this interview? If you're going to make claims about the weed killer and you're going to make promises that you'll drink the weed killer, what do you think is going to happen? So maybe spend some time thinking about what you're going to say in the interview and rehearsing it out loud so you don't get yourself into the corner that Dr. Patrick Moore got himself into, which he then desperately tried to scrabble out of and ended up by getting defensive, insulting, walking off set. None of these things are going to help your brand and your brand's reputation or yours.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Whistleblower Wednesday. We're live from Worldview Tube, and our X Spaces simulcast with our live audience. And my guest today is Dr. Contreras. Dr. Contreras is the founder-director of Oasis of Health, an integrative cancer treatment center that uses unique ideas and unique treatments that are much less harmful to the body than a standard cancer treatment. And Dr. Contreras, we're talking about glyphosate, and I found the little clip humorous. I like to inject some humor, especially into a show with a very serious and deadly subject like this. But that guy reminded me of. You remember the cigarette company guys doing testimony before Congress, saying you can eat the stuff, you can rub it on your skin. It doesn't do it. And then when they're pushed and given an opportunity to do those things, they run away. Of course, you can't drink Roundup and glyphosate-based herbicides. It will harm you. At a minimum, it's going to make you sick. From a digestive
it will kill
tract.
you, but you won't die of cancer. You will die of other problems that all of these chemicals cause. That was pretty stupid. One principle that you learn when you study pharmacology in medical school is that the difference between a venom and a cure is not the substance, is the amount.
Yeah.
So if you drink too much water, you can die of brain edema. Water.
That's right.
Just plain water, completely clean. So something that can be good for you can also be bad for you. And this is what he should have said, It's safe if you are exposed to certain amounts, for instance. That was very, very poorly stated by him, and I'm so glad that this young kid really got him into a big problem. Oh, well, here it is. Why don't you drink it in front of everybody and die before us? Again, the fact that there are chemicals that can be toxic, it all depends on the amount. Even vitamins can kill you if you take too much of them. Again, I want to reiterate that there are many things that we constantly use in medicine that can be very harmful to people, but that at some point and for a specific problem can be life-saving.
When you see a patient, can you tell by the cancer cells that they have that something like glyphosate may be been involved in generating that mutation? Because it's a mutating cell, basically, right?
No, that's impossible because there are so many factors that play a role. But there's no way around the fact that it can be a contributing factor. Now, why is it that not everybody that is exposed to it gets that disease? And that will depend on the quality and quantity of the immune system of each person. So, for instance, did you mention that it was your uncle or your friend that
family member? Yeah, family.
So
member.
Your family member may have been there for as many years as another person that started with him, and this person didn't get it. That doesn't mean that your uncle was not affected by these chemicals. It just means that the other guy had a much better immune system.
Yeah, I work a lot with the veteran community that's been exposed to Agent Orange, and we find that too. It's two men that did everything together for a period of 2 years while they were being exposed to Agent Orange. Did the exact same type of activities. One got the disease, the other is disease-free from it. And there's a whole host of different diseases you can get from Agent Orange. I mean, they're very similar to glyphosates and Roundup. Matter of fact, we call Roundup the Agent Orange of farmers and grass golf course folks, people that take care of plants because of the conditions you can get and everything. So have there been any studies done to study like people like what I just described? I mean, that would almost be like a twins study where they're both exposed to the same thing, same types of activity, where one got it and one didn't. Are there any studies out there that show that so that we can be predictable in this and maybe do some intervention early?
There have been attempts, and usually people stop because when you're, for instance, if you're genetically inclined, women that have the BRCA gene, one of the biggest discussions that were there before doing the BRCA studies is what is the emotional impact of somebody knowing something for which they can do nothing about it. And the conclusion philosophically is that it's a terrible idea to do genetic testing to see who is prone to develop such disease, because then emotionally they're going to be impaired and they're going to be stressed. So there are studies like what you're mentioning, who's more prone than others, it's usually the immune system that you're lacking. But most of us are. We all know, the little old lady that smoked all her life and only ate junk and never got cancer, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's because she just got a terribly good immune system. Not that the chemicals are not there and they're not bad. What is very well established is what these chemicals can do to cells in the lab. Okay, and so they will cause mutations. How those cells in the body are handled by the immune system, when the immune system is up to par, is going to get rid of those cells with mutations, and cancer will never develop. But that doesn't mean that mutations didn't happen.
Right.
So what we know for sure is that these chemicals are going to cause mutations. What's the impact on the whole of the population? It's limited, right? Because the percentage is low. And so when these people claim that if you use it correctly, that it's not going to be a problem, maybe it means that only 1 in 10,000 is going to get cancer. I don't know. I don't know those numbers, but those are the type of calculations that they come up with in order to. And it's the same for drugs. When the FDA approves a drug, it's because the risk of, or the people that are going to acquire diseases is much less than the ones that are going to be benefited by these chemicals. And so I just want to put the perspective out there that we easily critique something, but if you go a little bit deeper, you can understand that there are higher ups that have to make decisions like the one they're making. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I'm just trying to get people to think about the perspective of things that can be beneficial, while at the same time can be very harmful.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like to do these shows. I mean, this is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I've had medical clinics, large clinics, hospitals work for me before, and I've had executive oversight over the types of activities. So I have a basic understanding. I know when something's not right. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
How does the glyphosate work on the plants?
So it's the reason why it can be carcinogenic, it's a proliferating agent. It's an agent that causes cells to grow faster, and thus the grass is going to grow better, and the food and the plants are going to grow faster than normally. And the risk of when you accelerate growth is of mutations, and that's the way it works.
So when it's sprayed on a plant, and the plant hasn't borne fruit yet, whatever it is, corn, cotton, soybeans, whatever. Uh, uh, that material, that chemical, will be present inside the fruit that's yet to be born by the plant.
So
Is that
that's
correct?
one of the things. And the other one is that it's going to kill parasites, the weeds that are going to steal
Right.
nutrients from the thing that you want to grow. So so that combination generally is good, but it can be harmful when a human ingests it, when you take it into your body. But that's my understanding on how it works.
So it really isn't going to do any good for you to wash my fruits and vegetables, this particular type of agent.
Oh, well, I think it would help.
Mhm.
Whatever inside of the foods that we consume,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a terribly small amount. I don't think that's what's causing the disease. It's the actual exposure
Yeah.
of it. So I doubt that what's inside of the plant is carcinogenic.
Yeah. Very interesting. Well, Doc, we got to take another break. When we come back, I want to talk about studies because the clip will talk about a fake study, a false study. But maybe we can inform the audience on how do you recognize what's good from a study perspective, because people read these things now and dive into them. Doesn't matter whether they have any education or expertise in it, because information is so prolific today. You can get your hands on it. It's good to know, I think, for people to know what they're looking at. We'll be right back with Dr. Francisco Contreras.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now. And we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview.
This study was published in the year 2000, and now it was revealed that actually Monsanto staff helped write this article. The authors were likely receiving large sums of money from Monsanto, and many of the data in this study was unpublished, the secret data from Monsanto. So it was basically a complete fraud, and it claimed that glyphosate was safe and not linked to cancer. Now we have all these studies that came out recently finding that glyphosate increased or caused 10 distinct types of cancer in rats when they were exposed at so-called safe levels. And so this paper, though, was used by our agencies across the world to claim glyphosate was safe and in the approval processes. And so now all of that was built on a complete fraud and lie. And so this retraction is probably the only time I will be happy about a retraction.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. And I know our audience is ginning up some questions for my guest, Dr. Francisco Contreras, who's talking to us about glyphosate, the impact of this executive order from the Trump administration, why Secretary of HHS Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Is responding the way he is. And in this segment, Dr. Contreras, just like the clip says, this Monsanto study, I mean, when you read about it, they used ghostwriters to write scientific papers. What? They had undisclosed influence on the regulatory reviews in the process, and they suppressed. This is the worst part to me: is they suppressed unfavorable data and were able to get away with it for a time. Is there a way we can recognize a study like that one versus one that we should hold reliable? I mean, in your long years of expertise in this business, have you developed any tactics or techniques to be able to do that?
Well, the first one is like a saying that you have in America, follow the money. The sponsor of the studies have a lot to do with the outcome of the study generally. And the other one is that the manipulation of numbers is so complex that you can sway the results on your favor just by manipulating the numbers. What do I mean by that? Well, the old saying that there's lies, good lies, bad lies, and statistics is very, very true. And in medicine, we have to scrutinize tremendously studies, even double-blind studies, because the information that you get can be skewed. And I'm sure that you've heard of many things that have been approved by the FDA, and then 2 years later, they have to cancel or call them back the medication because the information that was given was not true. I'll give you an example. There cholesterol lowering drugs were studied for many, many years, and they proved to be quite effective. And 15 years, I think it was 15 years later, they restudied the people that took the cholesterol lowering drugs that obviously, I mean, effectively the cholesterol came down, but more people died, the ones that had lower cholesterol that took these drugs, than the placebo group that didn't take the cholesterol lowering drug. They had high cholesterol, and so the drug was worse than the disease. And so we have many examples of this in medicine, of things that were approved that are not good for us. And so sometimes studies are made to prove a point for marketing purposes, but they end up not being good for the patients that took it. So this what this person was talking about in this context of chemicals used in the industry has happened a lot in the medical world. So we begin by believing that things are done in good faith and that errors can be committed. That's a given, but there's no question that there are studies that are done with with marketing intent in mind, rather than the benefit that it could give to the public, and it is difficult to sometimes separate one from the other. Even when you have a lot of experience in reading papers like that, that's what we do all the time, as doctors. We base our activity on helping patients on the evidence, quote unquote, that is published by supposedly serious researchers. But there's always bad apples, and it happens just too often, unfortunately.
Yeah, we saw that a lot in the pandemic situation,
Exactly.
And one of the things that they tried to do was hold up, well, here's a peer-reviewed study. What does that mean? And why should a peer-reviewed study be more reliable than one that's not peer?
Okay, so there's two types of publications in the medical realm. It's probably also in other specialties. Non-peer reviewed is when you develop something new, you design the clinical trial, you do it, and then you publish it. So these are publications that do not require experts in the field to critique the study before it's published. So peer-reviewed magazines or journals are more respectable because before they will publish it, experts in the field will review the design, the way that it was done, and the way that it was interpreted, the interpretation of the data. And for each part of this, an expert will conclude that yes, the study was correctly done, was correctly interpreted, and thus it is published. And that's why peer-reviewed are more reliable than non-peer-reviewed studies.
That's amazing. I think I've got a question over in the audience. Let's go over there. Our hostess is Shell. Shell, do you have a question?
Sure.
Well, you should think of one then. Goodness, I've got some more.
Yes, sir.
I've got some more. So, with a peer-reviewed study, how is it difficult for that one to be manipulated? And are there markers or indicators in your long experience of reading these things and studying them and using them in the profession? Are there indicators that we can use to help protect ourselves when we're looking at these things?
Well, that's the advantage of reading peer-reviewed. It's going to be a lot more difficult to coerce, a number of experts, because the expert is going to be one on design, and that's his expertise. The other expert is in how it was done, and then the other expert is the mathematician on how you interpret it. That's why peer-reviewed are a lot more difficult to manipulate.
Yeah.
Everybody would have to be in on it in order for that to be. Now, the other is that the one that produces all of the paper is so clever that is able to fool all of the other experts. That is very difficult to do.
So you get the peer reviewers to buy into the manipulated information, and they do a peer reviewed study. That's pretty difficult. Well, we do have a question in the audience now. Go ahead, Jill.
Doctor, I'm curious. How do you feel about Trump's endorsement of glyphosates? I really didn't see that coming, sir.
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm from Mexico. I'm not affected by this, but here in Mexico we have a lot of dysregulation and corruption, so that we have so many chemicals that are well-known carcinogens, and we're much more exposed to these things. So again, as I was mentioning before, somebody up there has to make up a calculation of the risk versus the benefit on both sides. I don't know how they did it, but maybe the reason why Trump had to come up with this is that if you put things in perspective, more people are going to die of hunger than the ones that are going to be exposed to this and produce cancer. This is just speculation on my side. I don't know, but I would like to give the benefit of the doubt to people that are trying to improve the world. For instance, many good things are happening in Mexico because of this administration. So I hate to critique it, but this is something where they're going to have to come up with a good explanation, because there's no question that these chemicals are very bad for us. So if Trump helps get rid of the narco lords here in Mexico, it's much better than then I would have less problem with us using glyphosate in our agriculture, because a lot more people are being killed by these guys than these chemicals. And of course I'm being facetious, but it's difficult to understand if we don't have all the data. But I'm sure that they took many of these elements into play in order to make a decision like that. I don't think that it was lightly or easily made.
Oh, I don't think it was easily made. Like you said, it's a risk versus benefit trade-off decision when you're making decisions at a high level, like the president and secretary of HHS are having to make when it comes to this kind of stuff. One of the things that I think about when I'm thinking about that is that there are ways to minimize the risk, even though this stuff is being used in the food supply itself. I don't think the farmers can really minimize risk any more than they already are doing, and they're probably the most at risk for these diseases, like my family member has. Like I said, he's been doing it all his life, and it was the first to start using Roundup in his farm, in his state, I think. Well, we got to take another break, Dr. Contreras. When we come back, we will hear from RFK Jr. himself about this. We'll be right back.
What was the recent ruling on glyphosate?
That was an EO, which is an executive order from the president saying that we're going to make the ingredients for glyphosate in this country and for elemental phosphorus. And, you know, I've spent 40 years fighting pesticides. I was part of the trial team on the Monsanto case, which was the team that, we won 3 cases in a row and then got an $11 billion settlement with Monsanto, which is now Bayer. By the end of our trial, Bayer owned Monsanto. But, pesticides are poison. They're designed to kill all life. It's not a good thing to have in your food. So it's not something that I was particularly happy with. Let me put it that way mildly. But I also understand the president's point of view. The president didn't create the system. He's dealing with a problem that was created long before, over the past 60 years, when, through federal policies and subsidies and the management of farming in this country, the agricultural management, we have addicted our farmers to these pesticides, and particularly glyphosate. Glyphosate is the foundational pesticide of our food production system. So 97% of corn in this country is produced with glyphosate and can't be produced without it. 98%, you could do it. You could change it. There's organic corn producers in this country. It's like 3%. 98% of soy is produced with glyphosate. If you ban glyphosate overnight, or if you got rid of it, or if somebody else cut off our supply, it would destroy the American food system.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. And you just heard right there, it's Whistleblower Wednesday. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X Basis simulcast. My guest today is doctor and oncologist Francisco Contreras from the Oasis of Hope. Dr. Contreras, you just heard it right there. There is so much usage now that 97% of America's corn is produced using glyphosate. Look, when a few years ago I had farmland and my family farmed it. This family member that I've talked about, and we grew corn and we used Roundup in order to produce the bushels per acre that we needed to get to have the right margins so that we could continue the next year and plus make a living off of it. I totally understand that. But there are ways, I think, and Secretary Kennedy's been on them, right, Dr. Contreras? I mean, he's like removing food dyes from the food system, from the processed food system, recommending people not eat as much processed food or processed food at all, because the glyphosate can get into the processed food and you don't have any control over it. But with a fresh vegetable, I can at least wash it, make sure it's good and clean, and get most of that stuff off of it other than what's inside, right?
Absolutely. And I think, he was truly torn about this. But again, I think that when you look at the overall thing, are you going to stop the production of corn by 90%?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I think that he mentioned and probably should be explained better is, okay, right now we can't stop this, but we have a plan so that in the next 10 years, I don't know how long it would take, that we have a transition to get rid of it. Now, that I think we would all understand that. It's like if we all come to the conclusion that schooling is not the best for our children, and I can do better, I'm not going to close all of the schools today. I'm going to hopefully come up with a plan of what's going to substitute it. Because getting rid of all of the schools is not going to be good. But there could be something better, but there has to be a transition. I think this is what they have to talk about. It's like, when is it going to be that we are not going to have oil anymore? And people are debating on how to make that transition. And the transition has not been good, and the solution to date has not been good. But, and maybe, petroleum is going to be available always before the world ends. But I think that they have to talk about a plan on what is it that they're going to come up with, instead of saying, this is just so bad and nothing is going to change. I think, humans are very intelligent, and we've come up with solutions for about everything. And there is going to be a solution, and we just have to look for it.
Yeah, absolutely right. Elon Musk is working on orbital-based solar power instead of having all these dangerous and chemically laden solar panels and batteries on the planet, putting it out in space, developing it that way. Well, we got more questions from the audience. Let's go ahead and take them before we get to the end of the show. Go ahead, Show.
We have hope, sir.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask on your thoughts of washing fruits and vegetable with baking soda. Am I wasting my time? Is baking soda effective, or have you also thought anything about lemon? Is that helpful with glyphosate? What is your recommendation with cleaning fruits and vegetables?
No, it is definitely a very good idea to cleanse your vegetables, and glyphosate is not the only thing. Okay, there's many others, but I think that that oxygenated water peroxide is actually much better. So what you do is that you get a cap, the cap that closes the the oxygenated water, 1 cup, in a full sink of water. And if you wash your fruits and vegetables with this, most of the chemicals are going to be removed. I think it's a very good idea. I don't know how effective baking soda is, but I know for sure that the peroxide is very, very good. I would have to see if there are studies that show that baking soda is better or not than peroxide. But any method that you want, even if just washing it with pure water is better than not washing your fruits and vegetables.
Thank you. Let's take the next question from the audience.
We have Rigo, sir.
Hello. My question is there any alternatives to the use of glyphosate that you know that are viable besides regenerative farming, like Robert Kennedy just said right now?
Yes, there are. There are some bugs, people that use bugs to kill off. But how effective they are in getting rid of weed, the bugs, I don't know. They're very good at getting rid of other elements that destroy the plants. But how effective are they in fighting off the weeds? I don't know. That's not my area of expertise.
Dr. Contreras, at the Oasis of Hope, I mean, you guys have very scientifically based, unique treatments. Some that are even, I would say, they're opposed by the establishment medical community sometimes. When you're looking at the food that your patients are eating in your program, what are the kinds of foods you're talking about? I mean, is there any processed food that would be considered really safe?
No. That would be the short answer. There was a study done on cereals, very big study that studied all the nutritional value of cereals that people consume every morning. And I think it took 4 years. At the end of 4 years, they concluded that the box had more nutritional value than the content.
Oh no, I like Fruit Loops though.
But eat a little bit of the carton with it so that you get at least some nutrients. So here at the Oasis, we produce our own vegetables so that we make sure that they're organically grown. Why? Because a patient that already has cancer needs to be a lot more careful with the things that they ingest. And diet plays a major role in the long-term outcomes. So here we exaggerate in not having any chemicals whatsoever for our patients. Can you do that for the rest of the population? Well, there's many organically grown foods out there, but they're not really organic. But they're better than most. And yes, I agree with Mr. Kennedy that pesticides are our worst enemy. And really, if bugs don't get close to them, we shouldn't get close to them either. That's a fact. But again, if you have them, how much food are you going to produce?
I've got a lot of experience in chemical warfare agents, and bug spray is the treatment is exactly like it is if you get exposed to a chemical nerve agent. We've got one more question. We've got about 30 seconds for you to ask that question. Go ahead, Shell.
We have Lockjaw, sir.
Yes, sir. I was wondering, Doc, if why isn't there a bigger push for alternatives? It seems like there's a real low push for those. I was just wondering, are they big pharma trying to bury it, or trying to put a kibosh on it, or what's going on there? Do you know?
You kind of broke up when you said push for what?
An alternative.
Why isn't there a bigger push for alternatives?
It's very unfortunate. Natural products are very effective, but they don't go through the process of the FDA because you have to prove to the government that it's safe and effective. And more or less, you spend $1 billion doing that. And the way the government compensates is by giving you a patent so that you can make your money back. When it's a natural product, they cannot give you a patent. And so nobody is doing those studies. That's the disincentive. But there are many natural elements, especially to help cancer patients, like vitamin C, amygdalin, curcumin. They've proven in the laboratory to be very good, but they haven't gone through the whole process of the FDA so that everybody can use them.
Do you know if Kennedy is working on fixing that process to make it more capable of handling that?
I hope that somebody comes with an idea on how to incentivate the study on natural products, because it would change everything, not only in cancer.
Yeah, sure would. Well, Dr. Contreras, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been very helpful. We'll get it out as a post-production version of the episode. Tell folks where they can find you real quick.
Oasisofhope.com. Oasisofhope.com.
Thank you, sir, very much. We appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you too.
Yeah. All right, folks. Tomorrow's Truth Thursday. Joe Novak's back with me. News of the day, and you can bet most of it's going to be about two things: Iran and the crappy voter turnout and everything elections in Texas, North Carolina, and Arkansas, because we got some work to do if you're a Republican, and I am one. So let's get after it. We'll see you then.
We have a